The desert was silent, only the sound of dry wind moving across the endless sand. John walked alone, his backpack heavy on his shoulders. He was tired, thirsty, and ready to give up on this foolish trip. He had come searching for old ruins, for forgotten history, but he found nothing, only dust, heat, and loneliness. As the sun lowered, a faint glimmer caught his eye. It was not the normal shine of sand. It was something buried, something metallic. He stopped and bent down. His fingers brushed away the dust. He felt cold metal under his skin. His heart jumped. This was not a rock, not a bone, not something natural. He pulled harder. The sand gave way slowly, piece by piece, until a strange shape appeared. It looked like a small box, covered in scratches and cracks. Alien symbols lined its surface. Faint but still glowing, John's mouth went dry. He had seen many strange things in books and movies, but nothing like this. The object was dead, silent, broken. It looked like it had been lying here for centuries, maybe even longer. He laughed nervously, speaking to himself. "Great, John, you found a piece of junk." He tapped the box like it was a broken radio. Dust fell, but the box stayed silent. For a moment, he thought to leave it, but something inside him whispered no. He could not walk. Away, he lifted the box. It was heavier than it looked. His arms shook. He stumbled back and dropped it by accident. The box hit the ground with a sharp sound. Suddenly, faint lights blinked across its surface. John froze. His breath caught in his chest. He waited. Nothing more happened. Just a few weak lights, then silence again. His fear mixed with curiosity. He crouched down, looking closer. "Wake up," he said jokingly, almost mocking the dead machine. And then it replied, "Fleet status." The voice was not human, not from Earth. It was calm, metallic, but alive. John's blood ran cold. He jumped back, staring wide-eyed at the object. His heart pounded like a drum in his ears. He waited, but the desert was silent again. The box sat there, glowing faintly, as if it had never spoken. He shook his head. "No, no," he whispered. "I'm tired. I'm hearing things." He laughed nervously again, but the sound of his laugh died in the empty desert. He stepped forward slowly. Hands shaking, he touched the surface. The box felt warm now, as if something inside had awakened. Symbols lit up across the surface, forming strange patterns. They shifted like moving water, glowing in soft blue light. John did not understand any of it, but he felt something powerful, something dangerous. "Fleet status, awaiting command." The voice spoke again, louder this time. John stumbled backward, his foot sinking into the sand. He nearly fell. His mind raced. Was this some military experiment? Was it alien? Or was he losing his sanity in the heat? The sky above was darkening, stars beginning to appear. But John could not take his eyes off the device. He wanted to run, to leave it behind. But his curiosity was stronger. He had always dreamed of finding something impossible. Now it was here, right in front of him. The desert wind howled, carrying dust and sand. John sat on the ground, staring at the glowing box. He whispered, "What are you?" The box did not answer that question. It only pulsed with light. As if breathing, he remembered stories. The ones people told about old alien myths, ships that crossed galaxies, weapons that destroyed planets, and technology that could change the world. He thought of his small life, his boring days, his endless search for meaning. And now, here was something that could be the greatest discovery in history. John leaned closer, the light reflected in his eyes. His hand hovered over the box again. His heart said yes. His mind screamed no. But before he could choose, the voice spoke once more. "Fleet command offline. Partial systems active, awaiting orders." John's breath caught again. The words were simple, but the meaning was massive. A fleet. That word alone was enough to shake him. He imagined warships hidden in the stars, waiting for orders. He imagined enemies, battles, destruction. He wiped sweat from his forehead. His mouth felt dry. He whispered, "This can't be real." Yet the glow on the box remained, steady and calm, like it was waiting, like it was watching him. The night was deeper now. The desert sky stretched wide, stars endless above, but John did not care about the stars anymore. He cared about the voice, the device, the secret he had just uncovered. He felt both powerful and small, as if he had opened a door to something too big for him. The box pulsed again, like a heartbeat, and John whispered once more, half afraid, half curious, "Wake up." The desert stayed silent, but the voice returned. Fleet systems locked, command required, and John knew in that moment his life would never be the same. John sat frozen, the cold desert night pressing around him. The stars stretched wide above, but his world had shrunk to a single point, the glowing alien box in the sand. His mind screamed to leave, to run, to bury this thing again. Yet his body refused to move. Something inside him whispered louder than fear. "Stay." The device pulsed again, faint blue waves running across its cracked surface. The alien symbols shifted like living rivers of light. John had never seen anything so strange, so alive, in something made of metal. It was broken, yes, but it was not dead. He could feel its presence, a quiet intelligence, waiting, fleet status, awaiting command. The voice said once more, steady and calm. John swallowed hard, his throat dry, his voice weak. He whispered, "Who are you?" His words vanished into the air, but the device did not answer. Instead, the glowing symbols rearranged, forming shapes, circles, lines that looked almost like stars. A projection flickered in the air, faint at first, then brighter. John gasped. A map of the sky unfolded before his eyes. Thousands of dots glimmered, in patterns he did not know. Some pulsed red, others green. Blue lines connected them, tracing paths across the heavens. It looked like a war map. The device spoke again. Fleet lost, command absent, power reserves low. John felt his stomach twist. He could not understand how. But it was clear. This was not just a box. It was a console, a commander's key. He was looking at a window into something bigger, larger than Earth, larger than anything he could imagine. The stars on the projection shifted. Some blinked out, replaced by small red symbols. A mechanical voice echoed, "Enemy forces status active." John's skin crawled. He looked up at the real night sky, then back to the hologram. Were those red marks ships? Were they still out there, watching, waiting? His hands trembled. He reached forward. His fingers hovered over the glowing surface. The warmth of it was stronger now, almost like touching living flesh. His voice cracked. "What happens if I give a command?" The device answered instantly. "Fleet will execute. Fleet will obey." John's breath caught. His heart raced. He thought of the word fleet again. Ships, thousands maybe, following orders. His orders. The thought was impossible, absurd, terrifying. Yet the box spoke with no hesitation, no doubt. He remembered science fiction, movies, stories of humans finding alien weapons. But this was not fiction. The desert wind on his face, the weight of his body sinking in the sand. It was all real. His choices mattered, and the voice was waiting. John laughed nervously, a sound thin and cracked. "This is insane," he whispered. He leaned back, staring at the hologram. The map showed battles, clusters of stars marked with destruction, whole systems marked as gone. The word extinct blinked on one of them. His chest tightened. He realized these fleets had fought before, and entire worlds had died. He asked without thinking, "Why me?" The voice replied, not with words, but with symbols flashing across the screen. Then a sentence appeared in clear alien script, but somehow his mind understood. Closest signal detected. Command accepted. John froze. No, he whispered. I didn't accept anything. But the box glowed brighter. The voice repeated. Command accepted. He felt sick. He wanted to throw the thing away, to smash it, to bury it. But something inside him also wanted to keep listening, because if this was true, if this was real, then humanity was no longer alone. The desert air grew colder. His breath fogged in the moonlight. John pulled his jacket tight, but could not stop shivering. The box hummed faintly now. A low vibration in the sand. It felt alive, like it was waking. Up after a long sleep. Then the hologram changed. The stars folded away, replaced by a single massive ship. Its design was unlike anything human, long, sharp, almost like a blade floating in the dark. Symbols glowed across its hull. The voice said, Flagship inactive, damage critical, reserves 23%. John's mouth went dry again. A flagship that meant a leadership, the center of an entire fleet, and it was still out there. Broken but alive, his thoughts spun. What if he could find it? What if he could call it? But another thought cut through. What if the enemy found? At first, the device flickered again. The voice spoke. Orders required. Silence equals termination. John's blood froze. Termination. Did it mean the fleet would die? Or did it mean him? The projection blinked red for a moment, then faded. Only the box remained glowing in the sand. Waiting, breathing. John stood, pacing in a small circle. He felt the weight of the desert, the endless sky above, and the impossible choice at his feet. He was just a man. He had no army, no training. He had no right to command alien fleets. Yet the box insisted. Awaiting command, he crouched again, close to it, his face lit by its pale glow. His voice low. If I speak, will you listen? The voice replied instantly. Command voice? Detected. Will obey. John shut his eyes. He could feel sweat dripping down his face. His body shook. The silence stretched long. His fear screamed louder than the desert wind. If this was real, he could doom the world with one wrong word. But if he stayed silent, maybe he would doom it too. The box pulsed once more, like a heartbeat. Then it whispered, softer this time. Enemy fleet detected. John's eyes shot open. His head snapped up to the stars. For a long moment, the sky looked still, peaceful. The stars were quiet. But in his chest, his heart told him the truth. Something was moving out there. Something was coming closer. The device glowed brighter, its hum rising like a warning. John's voice cracked. No, no, no. This is impossible. But the voice cut him off, calm and cold. Enemy fleet? Vector approaching. Command required. John fell back into the sand, his breathing quick and sharp. The stars above no longer looked peaceful. They looked like hunters, watching, waiting, ready to strike. He had woken something he did not understand, and now something else had woken too. The desert night was colder now, but John felt no chill. His entire body burned with fear and confusion. The alien device glowed brighter than before, its strange symbols shifting faster. Almost alive, the voice echoed again, steady, calm, but heavy with meaning. Enemy fleet approaching. Command required. John stared at the sky. His eyes scanned the stars, searching for movement. For a moment, everything looked still, but he could not shake the feeling that something was out there, hidden in the black. Watching, waiting, his heartbeat thundered in his chest. His breath came short. He dropped to his knees, gripping the box with both hands. The warmth of it spread through his palms. The voice repeated, awaiting orders. Silence equals failure. His voice cracked as he whispered, I don't know what to say. The device hummed, and then, without warning, a new projection rose into the air. John gasped. The desert lit up with strange light. A hologram unfolded above him. Massive and detailed, it showed a galaxy, swirling, with stars, whole clusters glowing and fading. Then came the marks, red symbols spread across the stars, DOTs connected by thin lines. They moved, shifted, spread like a virus. Entire star systems blinked out as the red marks consumed them. The voice explained, enemy advance recorded, entire sectors lost, civilizations destroyed. John's stomach twisted. He whispered, civilizations? The word felt too big, too heavy. He thought of Earth, of cities, of people living their normal lives without knowing any of this. He felt sick. The projection shifted again. Now green and blue marks appeared, fleets gathering, fighting, clashing. With red, the galaxy filled with explosions, stars darkened, whole worlds turned black. The voice spoke. War ongoing. Command chain broken, central fleet lost. John's mind raced. He was not looking at history from a book. He was looking at memories of an alien war, battles so large they made human history look like nothing. He realized something chilling. This war was not over. It was paused, waiting. The device pulsed, and a new image appeared. A massive ship, larger than anything he could imagine. It stretched across the hologram like a city floating in the dark. A voice said, Flagship Omega. Status, damaged, offline, location, classified. John leaned closer. The design of the ship was sharp, terrifying, yet beautiful. Towers and spires rose from its surface. Glowing lines ran along its body. It looked ancient and alive. A ship like that could hold millions, or weapons that could destroy planets. The box pulsed again, symbols rearranged until words formed. Command access detected. You hold authority, John. Shook his head. His voice shook. No, not me. I'm nobody. I can't command fleets. I'm just one man. But the voice was merciless. Closest signal matched. Authority transferred. You are command. The words slammed into him. He felt dizzy. His breath came fast. He stood, pacing. The desert stretched around him. Empty, silent, but in his mind, it was no longer silent. He saw armies waiting, ships drifting, all waiting for one word from him. He grabbed his hair, shaking his head. This isn't real. It can't be real. But when he looked back at the device, it glowed steady, patient, like it was waiting for him to catch up. The projection shifted again. Now it showed Earth. His heart stopped. The blue and green sphere floated in the hologram, small compared to the galaxy, but glowing bright. A single red mark appeared near it, blinking slowly. Enemy vector approaching. The voice said, Fleet status, none. Command required. John stumbled back, falling into the sand. His hands dug into the dirt, he whispered. No, 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 not Earth. His chest tightened. He thought of people sleeping, living normal lives. He thought of his family, his friends. None of them knew. None of them could understand. He turned back to the projection, his voice sharp, desperate. What enemy? Who are they? The symbols rearranged, forming twisted shapes, spiked forms like living machines. Black ships spread across the hologram. The voice said, Designation unknown, hostile, adaptive, relentless. The images made his skin crawl. They were not just ships. They looked alive, almost like creatures of metal. Their forms twisted, shifting, growing sharper. They consumed everything in their path. They looked unstoppable. John's body trembled. He whispered, And you want me to fight them? The voice answered without pause. Yes, fleet requires command. Without command, defeat is certain. He sat in silence. The desert wind howled, dust swirling around. He closed his eyes. His life had been simple, small. He was nothing. But now, fate had placed him here. A broken device in the desert had chosen him, or trapped him. He whispered, What happens if I refuse? The device paused, then replied, Silence equals failure. Failure equals extinction. The words stabbed into him. His heart pounded. He looked up at the stars again. This time, he did not see beauty. He saw shadows, hidden movements, hunters. Waiting in the dark, he knew the voice was not lying. The projection shifted again. A final image appeared. It showed fleets, thousands of ships, waiting in silence, drifting through space. The voice said, "They wait for you. Command them, or they die." John's chest rose and fell fast. His thoughts spun. He wanted to run, to hide, to pretend none of this was real. But he could not. He had seen too much. He knew too much. The box pulsed one last time, brighter than before. The voice spoke slowly, like a warning. Enemy fleet approaching Earth. Distance closing, time limited. Command required. John's eyes widened. His heart hammered. He stared at the glowing device. His voice shook as he whispered, "What have I done?" And for the first time, he felt not just fear, but the crushing weight of destiny. John sat in the sand, his hands gripping the alien device like it was the only thing keeping him alive. His breath came sharp, his chest heavy. The desert was silent. But inside his head, there was only noise. The voice of the device echoed over and over. Command required. Fleet awaits. He wanted to scream, to throw the box away, to bury it deep so no one would ever find it again. But his fingers would not let go. They clung to it as if it had already chained itself to him. The warmth of the device spread through his palms. It was no longer just metal. It felt like it was part of him now. The hologram still floated above the sand, showing Earth fragile and glowing. And that single blinking red mark closing in. John could not take his eyes off it. The thought twisted his stomach. If he said nothing, maybe nothing would happen. Maybe this was all an illusion. But if it was real, then silence could mean destruction. He whispered, "Why me? Why not someone else?" The device pulsed softly, then replied. Closest signal matched, authority transferred. "You are command." The words pressed into his skull like iron. He shook his head. "I don't want this. I'm not ready. I'm not anyone." But the device gave no mercy. The voice repeated, calm and cold. "You are command." John's thoughts raced. He imagined fleets of alien ships waiting, silent in the dark. He imagined the power of one single word. Ships moving across galaxies, weapons firing, whole worlds burning or surviving because of him. The thought was terrifying. But another voice whispered inside him. What if you used it? What if you had control? The temptation crawled into his heart. He had always been ordinary. He had lived a small life, ignored, forgotten. But now, here in the desert, with no one watching, no one stopping him, he could hold power greater than kings, presidents, or armies. He could command fleets that once shook the stars. The voice of the device whispered again. Awaiting orders, command priority active. John clenched his fists. His breath grew heavy. He thought of his world, of humanity, of wars fought over small pieces of land, over pride, over nothing. And now he had something bigger than all of it. His mind painted images. He saw Earth under his control, fleets orbiting the planet, humans kneeling to him, not out of fear, but because he had protected them. He saw himself standing tall, no longer forgotten, no longer ordinary. He felt the hunger grow stronger. He shook his head violently. No, that's insane." His voice cracked. He stood and paced across the sand, kicking dust with each step. The temptation was poison, and he could feel it dripping deeper into him. The desert wind howled, carrying the sound of his struggle into the night. The device pulsed brighter. Its hum grew stronger. Symbols shifted across its surface. It was as if it could sense his conflict, as if it was feeding on it. "Command hesitation detected," the voice said. "Risk level rising. Enemy fleet vector closing." John stopped, his body tense, his eyes locked on the hologram again. The red mark was closer now. He could almost feel its movement. he whispered. "If I give a command, will you listen?" The voice replied instantly. "Yes, Fleet will obey. Fleet will execute. Fleet will not question." His chest tightened. He thought of history again, of leaders who had craved power and brought ruin, of men who spoke commands and changed the world forever. He thought of what kind of man he was. The question stabbed at him. Could he be trusted with this power? The device pulsed once more. The hologram changed, showing not Earth this time, but the massive alien flagship, broken, waiting in the dark. Its towers glowed faintly. Its body cracked, but still alive. The voice said, "Flagship awaits. One command can awaken. Fleet will rise." John stepped closer. His hand hovered above the device. He could almost feel the ships calling to him, whispering promises. The hunger returned. If he woke them, if he commanded them, nothing could threaten him. Nothing could threaten Earth. Nothing could stop him. But deep inside, another fear whispered. Louder. What if he gave one command, and the fleet saw humanity as weak, as unworthy? What if they followed his words, but twisted them? What if the war they fought was not for Earth, but against it? His knees shook. He fell to the sand. His voice broke. I can't decide." The device glowed brighter, the voice firm. "Command required. Silence equals failure. Failure equals extinction." John felt the weight of those words press into his bones. Extinction. The thought alone froze him. He imagined cities burning, oceans boiling, skies filled with fire. He imagined Earth erased like the stars he saw vanish in the hologram earlier. The temptation twisted further. Now it was no longer about power. It was about survival. If he said nothing, maybe Earth would fall. If he said something, maybe he would save it. But what if in saving it, he became something worse than the enemy? The desert wind picked up. Sand swirled around him, biting into his skin. The stars above looked sharper now, cruel, endless, watching. He closed his eyes and tried to remember his life before this night. He tried to hold on to the memory of being just John, but it slipped further away with every pulse of the device. The hum grew louder. The symbols glowed like fire. The voice repeated, stronger now. Enemy fleet nearing. Command required. Final. Opportunity. John's hands shook. He pressed them against the glowing surface. His body trembled. His voice broke. If I do this, if I command, what happens to me? For the first time, the voice hesitated. Then it replied, Command identity will merge. You will be linked. Fleet will obey forever. John's blood froze. Merge. The word clawed at him. It was not just power. It was a chain, a bond that might never break. He realized the temptation was a trap. If he commanded once, he might never be free. He pulled his hands back quickly, breathing hard. His chest ached. His mind screamed. He wanted to run, but his legs felt weak. He whispered, I can't be that. But the box glowed even brighter. The voice pressed harder. Without you, extinction. With you, survival. Command must decide. John stared at Earth's hologram again. So small, so fragile. A single world hanging in the dark. Waiting, he clenched his fists. The temptation still burned. Power and fear mixed together. Pulling him in two directions, he whispered, What if I save him, but lose myself? The device pulsed. The voice gave no answer. Only silence. Only waiting. And John realized the cruel truth. The choice was his, and there was no way to escape it. The desert was no longer quiet. At least, not to John. The silence felt sharp, alive, and heavy with something unseen. The alien device pulsed in his hands, its hum rising like the heartbeat of a giant. His body trembled, sweat dripping down his face, even though the night air was cold. The hologram above the sand flickered again. Earth floated in the middle, bright and fragile, and around it the red mark blinked closer, faster now, It was no longer just a symbol. It was movement, alive. It was coming. The voice of the device spoke again, steady and merciless. Enemy fleet nearing Earth vector. Command required. Action needed. John shook his head, his breath broke in gasps. His voice cracked. I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not a commander. But the device did not listen. It pulsed harder, brighter. The symbols across its surface flared. The desert lit with blue light. Then the stars above him shifted. John froze, his eyes wide, his body stiff. For a moment, he thought it was his imagination, the tricks of exhaustion and fear. But no, something moved. One of the stars was not a star at all. It flickered, dimmed, then brightened again. It slid across the sky in silence. A cold trail of light behind it. John's stomach dropped, his throat closed. The hologram was not lying. The enemy was real. He stumbled back, nearly falling into the sand. His eyes locked on the moving star. It was no star. It was a ship, massive and far away, drifting closer to his world. His voice came out as a broken whisper. Oh my God. The device spoke again. Enemy fleet approaching. Estimated contact window. Imminent. Defensive action required. Command required. The words cut into him like knives. His body shook harder. He tried to breathe, but every breath was thin, shallow. His mind raced. The fleet was not just in some faraway galaxy. It was here, approaching. Earth, and he had woken them. He had woken the war. He dropped to his knees, pressing his palms into the sand. His eyes still on the sky. More stars began to move, slowly at first, then with purpose. Dozens of them, spreading across the horizon. They glowed faint red, faint but visible. They were not stars. They were hunters. John's chest ached. He grabbed the device again. Stop them, please, stop them. His voice cracked. But the device only replied with cold clarity. Awaiting orders, fleet on standby. Command voice required. John closed his eyes. He felt trapped in a nightmare. He wanted to wake up, but the desert, the stars, the box in his hands, all of it was too real. His body screamed at him to speak a command, but his soul screamed at him to stay silent. The hologram shifted, now showing the enemy more clearly. Black twisted ships like blades of shadow. They moved like living creatures, their bodies writhing in slow motion, spikes stretched across their forms, glowing with faint red veins of light. They looked alive, hungry, and they were coming. John could not look away. His fear mixed with awe. They were unlike anything human. So alien, so terrifying, and yet beautiful in their monstrous way. They were predators, and Earth was prey. The device's voice echoed again, louder this time. Command required. Delay equals defeat. Defeat equals extinction. John's head pounded. His thoughts spun. The temptation returned. The idea of commanding fleets, of defending Earth. But the fear of merging, of losing himself, burned just as strong. His hands shook over the glowing surface. His lips trembled. He whispered, "What if I say the wrong thing?" The device pulsed. Symbols danced across its cracked body. Then it spoke. Command voice absolute. Fleet obeys without question. Fleet does not doubt, his heart hammered. If he gave one word, fleets would move. They would fight. They would destroy. The responsibility pressed on him like a mountain. His small human life felt crushed under it. He whispered, "I'm just John, I'm no one." But the sky above told him otherwise. The enemy ships glowed brighter now. No longer faint stars. They were moving faster, spreading across the black canvas of the night. Like a storm front, silent and deadly. The hologram pulsed again. Earth glowed in the center. The red marks closed in from all directions. The device's voice spoke once more, each word heavy, final. Enemy fleet awakening. Attack sequence rising. Earth at risk. Command must act. John's vision blurred. His body felt weak. He fell back into the sand, staring up at the night sky. He thought of the billions of people sleeping in their homes, unaware of what was above them. He thought of children, families, lives that could end without ever knowing why. His throat closed, tears filled his eyes. For a moment, he thought of giving in, of saying one word, defend, or attack, or anything. He imagined the fleets waking, ships appearing in the sky, fire and power bending to his command. The thought shook him. It was salvation. It was also damnation. The desert wind howled louder. Sand whipped across his face, stinging his skin. The device hummed violently now. Its glow spread across the ground like lightning. John clutched it to his chest, his body shaking, his mind screaming. The voice spoke one final time, stronger than before. Kanemi awakening. Command required, speak or be silent. This is the turning point. John's heart raced. His body trembled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. His voice was caught between fear and destiny. Above him, the first enemy ship broke free from the stars. A shadow moved across the night sky, blocking the constellations. Its edges glowed with red fire. Its body writhed like a living nightmare. It was no longer hidden. It was here. John's eyes widened. His chest heaved. The desert around him felt smaller, crushed under the weight of something far greater. He gripped the device tighter, his voice barely a whisper. What have I done? And as the sky filled with shadows, he realized the war he had woken was no longer waiting. It had begun. The desert no longer felt empty. It was alive, charged. With a power John could not control, the sky above him was no longer a sky. It was a battlefield waiting to ignite. The stars were gone, hidden by shadows. Dozens, maybe hundreds of enemy ships crawled across the heavens, their black forms twisted and glowing faint red. They looked like predators circling their prey, and that prey was Earth. John held the device tight against his chest, his body shaking, his face pale, his breath ragged. Every pulse of the box made his heart race faster. It felt like a second heartbeat, not his own, but something greater, something ancient. The voice inside it spoke again, calm yet heavy with demand. Command required. Fleet awaits. Enemy attack imminent. John's mind screamed at him. He could not do this. He was not a leader, not a warrior, not even brave. He was just John, an ordinary man. But the device did not care about who he was. It only cared that he was here, closest, alive, and chosen. The hologram flickered above the sand once more. Earth glowed in the center, so small compared to the storm of red closing in around it. The red marks multiplied, spreading, tightening their circle. The voice explained, enemy fleet outnumbers, enemy power overwhelming, fleet response required. John's throat tightened. He wanted to shout at the device, to throw it into the sand and run. But running would not change the truth. The truth was in the sky above him. The truth was in the shadow ships approaching Earth. He could not run. From that, no one could. He fell to his knees, his fingers pressed against the glowing surface. His voice cracked as he whispered, "If I give a command, what happens to me?" The device pulsed, the symbols shifted. The voice replied without emotion, "Command will merge. Command will carry weight. Fleet will obey forever. You will never be alone again." John's stomach turned. Never alone. The word sounded like a prison. He would lose himself, become something else. Maybe no longer human. Maybe just a voice inside this machine. His life would no longer be his own. But then he looked up at the sky again, at the massive shapes moving above, and another thought stabbed through him. If he stayed silent, Earth would burn. He pressed his forehead to the device, his voice low, broken. "I don't want this. I never asked for this." The device replied coldly, "Choice irrelevant. Command required. Silence equals extinction." The word extinction cut deep. It was not a threat. It was a fact. He had seen the holograms of destroyed worlds. He had seen systems blink out, gone forever. He knew this enemy would not stop. They would not talk. They would not bargain. They only consumed. They only destroyed. The desert wind howled louder. Carrying sand that stung his skin, the device hummed louder. The night sky glowed faint red from the approaching enemy. John was trapped between terror and destiny. The weight of the world pressed against his chest, heavier than he could bear. His mind swirled with memories. He thought of his mother's smile, of his father's quiet strength, of friends laughing, of children playing in the streets. He thought of humanity, small and flawed, but alive, beautiful in its imperfection. He thought of what would happen if the enemy reached them, if Earth fell silent like the extinct stars he had seen in the hologram. Tears blurred his vision. His voice cracked. I can't let them die. I can't let them all die. His hands shook violently. His lips trembled. The temptation of power returned. But now it was not about glory. It was about survival. Not just his, but everyone's. The device pulsed again, sensing his breaking point. Command voice detected. Speak and it will be done. John's body shook, his throat dry. He wanted to say the word. He wanted to end the waiting, but his fear of losing himself clawed at him. If he gave in, he might never come back. He might vanish inside the fleet. He whispered to himself, Will I still be me, or just a ghost? Device gave no comfort, no answer, only silence, only waiting. The sky above flashed suddenly. A beam of red light cut across the stars. Striking far in the distance, John's eyes widened. The enemy had fired. It was not practice, not a warning. It was war. The desert shook faintly under the force of something distant, but massive. The hologram above him flickered. Earth shook with faint red pulses across its surface. The voice of the device grew harsher. Enemy fire confirmed, time minimal, command required now. John screamed, a raw sound torn from his chest. I don't know what to do, but the device answered coldly. You do speak, or all is lost. He stared at the glowing surface. His tears fell onto it. Sizzling away like sparks, he imagined billions of voices, not speaking, not knowing, but depending on him. A man who never wanted this, never asked for this, and yet held everything in his hands. The hologram changed one final time, showing the enemy fleet in detail. Hundreds of twisted ships stretching across the black, glowing red like burning veins. They moved closer, faster, the red storm of extinction. The voice pressed harder. Command required. Say one word, say now. John clenched his fists, his whole body trembling, his throat dry, his heart a hammer in his chest. He whispered, If I do this, if I give one command, will Earth survive? The device pulsed brighter than ever, its voice deep, resonant, final. Yes, fleet will defend. Fleet will obey. But you will not return. Command will merge. You will never be only John again. His eyes closed tight. The war inside him raged louder than the war above. He wanted to stay himself, but he could not let the world die. He whispered to himself, again and again, I can't lose myself, but I can't lose them. The sky roared. Another red beam tore across the heavens. Closer this time, the ground shook faintly. The world was running out of time. John opened his eyes, his face wet with tears, his body weak, his voice broken. But inside, something hardened. Something rose from his fear. He whispered, If this is my test, then I have to answer. The device pulsed like a heartbeat. The voice pressed one last time. Speak. Command. Speak now. John lifted the device in both hands, his body trembling, his lips parted, his voice caught between despair and destiny. And as the enemy shadows filled the sky, as the red glow burned across the desert, John prepared to say the word that would decide the fate of humanity. The desert trembled beneath John's knees. The sky above was no longer peaceful. It was alive with movement. The enemy ships were closer now, massive shadows against the stars, their bodies twisting like living nightmares. Their red veins pulsed, glowing brighter, as if the universe itself bled. John's chest heaved. His throat was dry. His eyes wide and wet with fear. He clutched the alien device in both hands. The glow of it burned against his skin. Every pulse of light from it matched the pounding in his heart. He felt like it was dragging him deeper, binding him to something. Far beyond human, the voice of the device boomed, stronger than before. Enemy fire detected. Contact imminent. Command must act. John's lips trembled. He wanted to run. But there was nowhere to run. He wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to hide above him. Earth's sky had already begun to change, faint red streaks cutting across the stars like scars. This was no longer a warning. It was war. The hologram rose again above the sand. Brighter than ever, Earth floated in the center, fragile and small, and around it, the enemy swarmed. The red marks multiplied until the entire image burned crimson. John's heart twisted. He whispered, "Billions of lives," his voice cracked. "Billions depending on me," the device pulsed in answer. "Yes, fleet awaits." John's tears blurred his vision. His breath shook. His mind screamed against the choice. He remembered the warning. If he gave a command, he would merge. He would no longer be only himself. He would become command, forever tied to the fleet. He would lose his humanity, but above him, the first enemy ship broke lower through the clouds. A massive shadow, its edges glowing with red fire. It moved with silent hunger, blotting out stars, blotting out hope. The sight stole his breath. His hands clenched tighter around the device. His soul screamed. He could not let Earth fall. The device's voice grew deeper, harsher, as if impatient. "Speak now, command, or be silent forever." John closed his eyes. The wind howled against his face, carrying sand and dust. His body trembled. His voice weak. "If I do this, I'll never be me again." The device replied without mercy. "Yes, but your world will live." The choice cut through him like a blade, his life against billions, his soul against humanity's survival. He could not escape it. He could not delay it. He was the only one. He whispered, "Then so be it." His voice rose, broken but strong enough to carry. "Defend." The desert exploded with light. The device surged in his hands, burning hot. The hologram shattered into streams of energy that shot into the sky. Blue fire tore across the desert, climbing higher, faster. Reaching into the stars, John screamed. As the heat seared through him, his body felt like it was being pulled apart. His mind stretched thin. And then he heard them, voices, not human, not single, but countless. They flooded into him. Whispers of ships, soldiers, machines, lives that were not his, but were now inside him. They spoke in unison. Command accepted, fleet engaged. John's eyes snapped open, his vision no longer his own. The desert, the sky, the stars, all of it burned with blue light. He saw not only with his eyes, but with something greater. He saw space itself unfold. Above Earth, the void cracked open. Massive shapes emerged, not shadows of the enemy, but giants of light, alien warships, colossal and beautiful, rising from hidden depths of space. Their hulls glowed with ancient power, sharp lines and towers stretching across their bodies, like cities flying in the dark. They had been waiting, silent, forgotten, and now they had awakened. The ground shook as the sky filled with them. Dozens, then hundreds, shadows of hope this time, not doom. Their engines thundered like storms. Their weapons glowed like suns. They formed lines. Formations older than humanity itself. They answered his command. John gasped. His body trembled. His mind nearly breaking under the flood of voices. But he felt it. He was no longer alone. He was inside them, and they were inside him. He had become command. The device glowed brighter in his hands, its voice no longer calm, but alive. Fleet engaged. Enemy contact confirmed. Battle initiation in progress. John staggered to his feet, his eyes locked on the heavens. The enemy fleet surged forward, their red glow spreading like fire across the stars. But now they were not alone. The blue fleet, his fleet, rose to meet them. The first clash lit. The sky, beams of light, cut across the night. Red and blue collided in silence, so vast it made the desert tremble. Ships exploded like dying stars, fire raining across the void. The war had begun above Earth, a war that would decide everything. John's chest heaved, his tears streamed down his face. He whispered to himself, "What have I done?" For he had saved his world. Yes, but he had also chained himself forever to a war that might never end. The voices of the fleet filled his head, millions of them speaking as one. "We are yours. Command, we obey. We fight. We will not stop." John's knees buckled. He almost collapsed into the sand. The weight of their obedience crushed him. He realized the truth. He was no longer only John. He was commander of a fleet older than humanity, bound to them forever. The device pulsed one final time. Its voice echoed in his skull. Enemy fleet vast, enemy stronger, victory uncertain. Command must lead. John's eyes widened, his breath caught. Victory uncertain, even with the awakened fleet, even with Earth defended. The enemy was beyond anything he imagined. This was not a single battle. This was the beginning of something far larger, far darker. He whispered, "This isn't over." Above him, the sky burned red and blue. Armies clashed in silence. Ships shattered. Light exploded. Earth trembled. Humanity slept below, unaware that their survival now rested in the hands of a man who was no longer truly human. And as John stared into the fire of two fleets tearing the heavens apart, he knew his life was gone. His destiny was no longer his own. The war had begun, and it would never end.